Hi, I'm Ylli with the Special Competitive Studies Project. I'm joining you live from the Munich Security Conference, and it's a true honor to co-host this episode with my close friend, Benedikt Franke, who is also the organizer of the Munich Security Conference. Benedikt, it's a pleasure to join this joint podcast with you.
Thanks for partnering with us once again.
And it's truly an honor to host the head of the German military, General Carsten Breuer, as our guest here. Sir, welcome.
Thank you so much. It's really a pleasure to be here. And thanks that I can be a part of the Munich Security Conference. It's good.
Every year again.
Benedikt, I'm going to start first by asking the General, you talked, sir, about 2029. The Chancellor talked yesterday about 2029. What is your vision for where the German forces should be by 2029?
Well, I think the German forces have to be kriegstüchtig, which means ready for war, being able to wage war. We have, there's no, when we are talking about 2029, it's not in a way that there will happen an attack, but the possibility is there, the likelihood is there. So I think we have to prepare everything for this. At least we have to make a red mark into our calendar to be sure what can we achieve until then, and in which parts we can't achieve, and how are we going to mitigate it? Because we don't have the chance, like we have done it over years and years, to say, yeah, we can postpone this. We can wait for this. Now we have procured this now, but the feeling it can be later. We can't afford this any longer because there's a real threat from Russia, and the culmination point, Clausewitz, the culmination point is at 2029.
Right. Benedikt?
See, so you've just said, General, that the German military needs to be kriegstüchtig. We've done joint appearances before, right. Public appearances, right, where we've talked about the readiness of the German population, not just the military. Are you seeing some positive changes here, or are we still too slow?
Well, I think we have done a lot, and it's for me. It's very often in a way that we see the problems in front of us. We put our headlights on and we look at those problems, and then sometimes admire those problems. But at least we see them, and we know what we have to do. Very seldom we are looking into the rear mirror. And not very often we are looking what we have done and what we have achieved up to now. I think this is necessary to see what we have done. Then you are able and you are much more confident to solve the problems in front of you. So what we have done over the last 3 years is really to get a sense of urgency into the population. Are we good enough? I don't know. Are we done? Definitely not. But the sense of urgency is there. When I'm talking to the population, when I'm talking to people in Germany, when I addressed 2029 3 years ago, they were looking at me and saying, "What do you mean?" Nowadays, I think it's clear that 2029 is a crucial date. So it's there. Is it enough? Well, you might answer this question.
I would add, in addition to the population readiness, you're overseeing a massive military modernization. Can you just walk us through what are some of the areas you think your military will move forward for the next 3 years?
Well, I think we have gone through a phase of underspending over the last, well, at least 20 to 30 years, probably even more. And this underspending left some pit holes in the street, and those pit holes have been filled. And I think the extra budget we had from the German Parliament, 100 billion euros, it's a huge amount of money, but it filled only the pit holes. So we were not able to stay in this picture. We were not able to pave the way. Definitely not. And now having the possibility with a budget where there's an exemption for all defense and security issues. With this exemption, I think we are able to ramp up in a very positive and in a very necessary way. So we are looking in all the different fields. We are looking from tanks, from the personal armament up to satellites, and all what is in between. What are the biggest challenges? I think we have to speed up with air defense. We have to make sure that we are getting that really right. Deep precision strike or long range fires. I think this is one of the biggest issue, and satellites and so on. So these are the short term parts. The long long-term parts is definitely digitalization. How can we get this much quicker into the forces, up to artificial intelligence, because this will be the war of the future. And this is at the same time what we have to consider. It's not only about the fight tonight. It's not only about 2029. It's also about the forces of the future, because only if you have a strong military, you can deter an enemy, and you can deter an enemy from attacking you in your country. And this is what we are aiming for.
Right.
So you've just mentioned the war of the future. Let's return to the war of the present. Ukraine is center stage here
Absolutely,
in Munich.
yeah.
We've just heard the speech by the president. We've created the Ukraine House. Are we learning enough from that war?
Well, I think Ukraine is a teacher, but the war in Ukraine is not a blueprint. Definitely not. So we are drawing our conclusions out of that war, and we have drawn a lot of conclusions. So the lessons learned, the lessons identified, and the lessons learned are there, and they are going directly. And I can see it in the German force. They're going directly into the forces. So what we see is that we are changing doctrines, that we are changing manuals. We have seen a lot of initiatives in which the war in Ukraine, the battle in Ukraine, is evaluated, and on a sergeant level, even on a sergeant level, drawing conclusion and brings us into their own training. So there's a lot of stuff ongoing, including that we have instructors coming over from Ukraine and teach us about their lessons learned. So there's an exchange on this as well. Is it enough on the small scale? Is it enough on the big scale? I can't really answer this question, but we do what we can do to get the idea what is behind and how will a war of the future look like. And once again, I see this terrible war in Ukraine, and I see the braveness of the Ukraine people, how they stand this attacks. We have to get the same kind of resilience into our forces, but also into our society. It's admirable what the Ukrainians are doing there.
General, going back to the modernization efforts, obviously you need a viable industrial base to support that military modernization. How you would assess working with private sector right now, hand in hand, to achieve your goals and objectives?
This has changed over the last couple of years, definitely. And I was talking about the 100 billion of extra budget. There was a little bit a reluctance, not because one could see that this budget will end sometime, and this was basically in 2027. In having this exemption for security and defense, industry has understood and has understood that there's enough money and has now the ability to plan. So we have a reliability for industry, but we also have on the planning side for the military, we have a good planning reliability. So bring this two together. So industry is really ramping up. We see this, but we are in most of the cases we are in the problem of upscaling. We are in the problem of manufacturing up to now, and now going into a clear and forward-leaning production. All the industry has understood the challenge of the future and has seen what they can do, and they are doing it. I would add one point, if I may, sure. And this is the question of, and once again, the war of the future, what will happen in the future. I think we have to work much closer together with between the military, the policymaker, and the industry to understand what technological possibilities are there, and how are they influencing what we are doing in the military. So the technological developments will definitely influence our doctrines of the future.
Fascinating.
So talk us through some of the procurement choices you have. How much European should our forces be? How much American equipment should we continue to buy to keep this part of the alliance going? It seems to be a difficult balance to strike. So talk us through some of these choices.
Well, it's and I had a very good talk with one of the industrial leaders in Germany, and he asked me the question, okay, why are you not buying this from us? So we were talking about the platform, not more to specify this. So talking about the platform, and I said, okay, what will happen when I now order this platform? And he said, well, when you tell me what I have to do, so what kind of platform, what capabilities you need, I will go into the planning, then we do the procurement, and we do all the stuff behind, we do the contracting, and then we start the building, we get the resources done, and say, okay, and when will this then happen? When will I get this platform? And he looked at me, well, probably between 2035 and 2037. And I said, okay, when we are talking about 2029 and I'm getting stuff at 2037, this is not doable. So there's always a choice, and this is one of the hard choices. Should we buy off the shelf? Or can we afford to produce, to have new equipment which has to be developed? At the moment, I'm very much in buying off the shelf. And even buying off the shelf, when we are looking, for example, the Leopard 2A8, it was bought and the contracting was already done in 2023. So we did the order in 2023. Last year in December, we got the first one out of this batch. So talking this means 2.5 years only for production. And there you see what is ongoing there. So do I have really a choice at the moment in buying off the shelf or not? One has to find the tipping point. And the tipping point is then about when can we really go back into a production, probably national-wise, better European-wise, but we should keep those two tracks. So one track is for the short term and to get the forces ready for the short term. And this is not only in Germany, this has to be in entire Europe. And then you have the second part where you can have a longer term perspective, where you can see, okay, now we can bring all the good things together. And the good things together, this means synchronization, this means interoperability, this means efficiency. So get then the European part in there. I think this is very necessary to have those two different perspectives of this, because otherwise we will fail. I'm a big fan of Europe, but I don't like those people taking Europe as an excuse for being slow.
General, you have served in many theaters as part of NATO mission. You probably met during the day and the course of the Munich Security Conference with many of your colleagues. How do you think the threat has changed in your lifetime?
Well, I think I'm facing at the moment the most dangerous. Well, we are facing the most dangerous time I've seen in my lifetime. I've seen in my 42. Yeah, it seems old. It is old. Yeah. In my 42 years of military career, and I think when I'm talking to the other chiefs of defense who are mainly around the same year group, mainly, then I feel the same thing. So we started during the Cold War period. Having a comparable but not the same threat like we are having in here. In that time, it was more stable. In our days, it's really dispersed. Communication is not in that way like it was in that time. In between, there was the war fighting in foreign countries. There was the international crisis management, crisis response operations. There were different requirements. It was very hard for all those who were fighting there. It was we had a lot of losses in that time. So but it was definitely different to what we are seeing today. Today we have an all-in approach. We have to be ready. We do not have a choice. We can't say, okay, we are joining this war fighting in that or that country. We have to be prepared to fight our own homeland, to our own country. And this is the threat perception I'm feeling, and this is the change I'm seeing from 1984 over the 19th or early 2000 up to now.
Right.
General, how would you rate this year's Munich Security Conference? Was it helpful to your efforts?
We are in between, Benedikt. Come on, so it's too early, but it's the best ever, of course, because it's always the best ever. Now, what I'm seeing is there were a lot of expectations after having the Munich Security Conference last year with the well-known speech of Vice President Vance. So there were high expectations on this, but I had the feeling nobody was really knew what are we expecting. So how different would it be? What will be the different stakes in here? In hearing Chancellor Merz yesterday and seeing that he was very strict on his issues and the point he made, and hearing Foreign Minister Rubio today, it fits together. So it's clear that we as a European have to take more responsibility, but it's also clear that the Americans are not saying, and we are out of this business. So it's coming together. This is at least my feeling at the moment. And this is a very positive sign, which comes out of this Munich Security Conference, at least from my perspective, and at least what I've seen until Saturday afternoon.
Yeah. Well done, as always, Benedikt. Last question from me, sir. It's 2029. You look back and you see things that you have accomplished. What would you think at that point would be something that you have achieved that you will proudly say, this is something we have done?
Well, I hope that in 2029 we have not only reached a certain level of urgency, but that we have achieved with a sense of urgency and with all what comes around, that we have achieved that nobody has attacked us, and that we are in a status where others are looking at us and say, okay, there is no possibility to attack them because the cost for ourselves is too high. In setting up this deterrence, I think we are shaping prosperity for our countries. We are shaping it in a way that we can live our lives with our values in freedom and peace. And I hope that we will achieve this in 2029, but also for 2029 and afterwards.
Thank you. Benedikt, thank you so much for this. It was truly an honor to have you in the middle of everything, really coming. General, it's also a really honor to have you on our joint podcast with Benedikt. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.